Hi everyone.
Yes, there we are. Yes, we're live today. Hello, everyone. My name is Carolina, and I am today with Laura and Human. We are part of Ingwe Canada. And today, Reza, our usual host, is not going to be with you guys, but we're here to hopefully provide you with some valuable information as well. And yes, today we're going to talk about study permit, how to write a study plan, a very, very important part of your study permit application. So Human is going to help me. He's one of our immigration consultants, and he will bring all that knowledge today. So feel free to ask questions. Laura, as every week, is helping us here with all the technological aspect of these lives, and of course with our questions and everything. And me myself, I am the person in charge of the education part of our agency. So my expertise is with the schools and all everything related to your applications and also to your academic applications and also to the application to your study permits. So, as I said, well, we're going to start right away to answer the first, I guess, and most important question. Um, and it's basically, what is a study plan? Human, how would you describe a study plan? Why is it important?
Okay, hello, everybody. Uh, as Carolina mentioned, this is my favorite topic, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the study permit, and this is a key factor. So I think the most important part of the study permit application is the study plan. And sometimes I believe that the officer, sometimes they only read the study plan. And after that, if they need to double check with the other supporting document, they can check the rest of the document. So it means that the study plan is very important for a study permit application. And we're going to go through the details during the session that what we should put it there, what we shouldn't put there, and then see how we can explain. Actually, the applicant can explain her or himself for the study permit.
Exactly. So basically, you said it very clearly there, Human. The study plan is where the applicant explains why they want to come to Canada to study. Okay, and this is something we're going to address. A lot of people write a study plan and put all these and give all these explanations, but what the officer wants to know is why you want to come to Canada to study, specifically to study, and because of that, why you chose the program, the province that you chose at the moment of your application. Okay, so starting right away with the typical mistakes that clients that we see or applicants make when they write their study permit. Hi, Angel. Thank you for joining us. So basically, we're going to start with five main mistakes that we've seen, and that also we see the reflection of that. Then, after when we get the outcome, like when we get a refusal, we see that those mistakes are commonly linked to those refusals from IRCC. So the mistake number one that we could, that we can talk to is being vague and not using clear wording. Okay, remember, your immigration officer, the one that is going to review your application, is a person, and they have piles of other applications. They have tons of applications to go through. So the most important thing is try to provide the information the most clear as possible, right? So they just read a few, just scanning your document, they can actually find all the information. And for that, we recommend, our first recommendation is, of course, use straightforward language and very clear language, but also use a structure, use subtitles. We normally divide, or we suggest our clients to divide their study permit with subtitles. And within those subtitles, uh, they can have the chance to express every or address every concern that the officer can have. So, for example, part number one of a study plan, what should it be? Laura, what do you think?
The plan number one, well, first have an introduction.
Exactly. And that introduction, right? Immediately there. What should that introduction should address? Like your name, your passport, your all everything that identifies you, and also very specifically, what is your purpose, right? Why I'm applying for a study permit? Because I want to study in this program in this province. Okay, so it's a very short summary with your information, the information of the program, and the information of the province. So immediately you give that to the officer. Okay, this is what I'm applying for. Number two, human. What is
Yep.
good to add there to the study plan after introducing yourself?
So we believe that it's better to talk about the background. So
Exactly.
yeah, the mention about the main study dates, and also explain a little bit about your past experience, and then provide the chronology about the programs and your experience as well. So you can match these things.
Exactly. So this is a great opportunity for you to explain yourself to the officer, to give an explanation of your background, your studies, and everything that is related to this program that you chose. Of course, everything that makes sense. Okay. So if you chose a master's degree, talk about you having a bachelor's, you working in the field of these masters, how these masters how the previous studies that you had led to the need of this new program. And as well as your work experience, and organize it. This is our suggestion: organize it in a very almost like a resume, in the sense of like having your dates, tell your story in a very clear way. In this year I graduated from high school, then I did this, I took a gap, a leap year, I don't know, anything, because this and this is what I was doing. So explain everything that led you to this program and to the decision of coming to Canada. um, so that's a very, very important part. So right now, you introduce yourself. You told the officer everything about you, basically your studies,
Okay.
your previous employment, and how these could uh, be related to your decision, right? And then on a separate subtitle, we would add why. Then why you chose to come to Canada, because studies basically can be done anywhere. You could have
Anywhere.
studied that master or that program in your home country. Why you chose Canada, and why, Human, do you think are good reasons, for example, for candidates to provide here?
So there's so many factors we can
Mm-hmm.
cover in this part. One of them, it should be the cost, for example, and
Mm-hmm.
then the professional advantages, language skills, because the Canada is an English language country and French, so
Exactly.
that's the reason. And sometimes maybe the client mentioned that, so I couldn't find this program in my home country. Yeah, but maybe the officer mentioned that, so in your neighborhood, or even the country closer than to your home country, you can choose that program too. So you have to be more specific that why Canada. So that's the area we can focus: cost, the advantages, the professional advantage, the language skills, and yeah, I think uh, that's the three
Yeah.
main fact.
Hmm.
Definitely. So for basically, what Human is saying, like just do your research. Do your research. Uh, Try to come up with reasons why language is always a good advantage, right? You're not going to have that in countries where in Latin America, where what your home country, where is no, that is not an English speaking country, but also try to be more specific. Sometimes the cost, like putting adding in your in this section like a price range of the program in your home country. Some countries have very high cost programs, and sometimes they are not higher, but sometimes they are similar, or they are just a little bit lower. So do that also. Try to explain why you chose a Canada in terms of other countries where you could maybe immigrate to or study um, at. So all of these are important things uh, to create a solid ground to convince this officer that yeah, you're coming to Canada to actually study. um, so moving on, we would add a section then after where it explains why you chose specifically the program and the college. Okay, because first you say, well, I want to come to Canada because Canada offers me all these advantages. And then you also can talk a little bit more specifically about the program. This program, as Human mentioned, for example, I wasn't able to find in my area in close countries, or for example, the curriculum of this program has all of these things, or the length of the program, it's I don't know, it's faster and it provides me the same benefits as a 5 year program or a longer program in my home country. There are many reasons, but it's good to clearly identify them. Okay. Another important and very important thing here that we're going to talk more in depth a little bit later is the field, why you chose the field of your study. Okay. The field and the level, why you chose a master's, why you chose a diploma, why you chose a certificate. That is why I mentioned everything you write in the section of your background has to make sense, has to complement the information that you give then about your program. If you chose a master's, well, you have to talk about your bachelor's, how you got to that decision. Okay, all of that is very important. Um, Laura, what is another section do you think?
Another section that I think is really important is the professional goals after complete the program in the college in Canada. So in this section, it is important to show like all the alternatives that the person would have after end the degree or the diploma or the certificate, and then how this program could be used in his or her country.
That is very important, super important, guys, because here the officer is going to see basically um, why, I mean, how you're going to apply that knowledge that you're looking to get here in Canada. Once you're back in your home country, that also has to make sense. Like your study, for example, I'm just gonna put an example. Like you come to Canada and you study something that back home, for example, has no for example has no field, or there is no way you can work in it once you go back home. So that explaining how you're going to use that knowledge, why you're doing it, all everything focused, very focused on your home country, that will give you a very big advantage as well. And finally, or maybe, well, I would say two more sections would be good. Human, what do you think we should add next?
So we should, for sure, actually, that we should mention about the ties to the home country. So I believe that most of the applicant, especially those who received the refusal for a study permit,
Mm-hmm.
one of the main reason the officer mentioned in the refusal letter is that you don't have a ties to your home country. uh, and this is not the specific, so we cannot mention that what is the ties. So any things that connect you to your home country, any things that force you after you completing your education, you need to come back. So it should be family, it should be the employment, so the obligation for job, or even asset, property, anything. So if you have all of them, which is good, so we can mention this case is good ties to home country. or some of
Yes.
them maybe with the families. So all the families is there. So the person comes to here alone for a study. Yeah, it depends on we have to review the background, and then even the client know that what's the ties.
Yes, for sure. Super important. As you said, Human, we've seen many refusals coming because of this reason. You know, not just because they don't have ties. Sometimes the
Mhm.
officer sees it that, okay, well, they have a child, but it's not clearly supported in the application. And that also basically leads to a refusal. Okay. And then finally, I would say that we definitely have to add a summary of your financial support. Why? Because again, you're going to attach a whole bunch of documents, your statements and all of this, and your properties and all of that. But still, you want to make it easier for the officer to read, to know what you paid, what you didn't pay. So normally in this section, we add a summary of the financials that the client is presenting. We also suggest to add, for example, if they had paid for tuition, how much they have paid, if explaining, for example, this is a very important part. For example, if your parents are sponsoring you for this, because here you have the chance to explain, well, my parents have this financial support, and they think that this is an important step in my career, so they are paying for my studies. Or maybe it's an uncle or somebody a little bit farther, not such a close relative. So this is a great section to explain yourself, why and how is this working for you. So, Laura, maybe we should give a little summary of all
Mm-hmm.
of this
Yeah, sure.
for our Latin American followers.
Ya, ok. Hola a todas las personas de habla hispana. Voy a hacer un breve resumen de todo lo que hemos estado hablando en este tiempo. Primero, pues el tema de hoy es aplicaciones para el permiso de estudio, más que todo cómo hacer un buen plan de estudios cuando se va a aplicar a un permiso de estudio en Canadá. Y estamos hablando de los errores que se suelen cometer al realizar esa aplicación o esa realización del plan de estudios. Entonces, el error número uno que estábamos mencionando es que no se es muy claro con la información que se está eh, escribiendo, con la información que se está dando. Entonces, para este tipo de error tenemos que tener una estructura. La estructura es introducción. En esa introducción es importante mencionar quiénes somos, nuestro nombre, la aplicación para qué es, vendría siendo para permiso de estudio, el nombre del programa que vamos a estudiar, la duración de ese programa y más que todo como una breve introducción de uno. Ya después de esa introducción iríamos como para el pasado, en cierta forma, que es el background en inglés. Ahí vamos a mencionar toda nuestra educación, los estudios que hemos tenido previos, también toda nuestra experiencia laboral y demostrar qué hemos estado haciendo durante nuestros estudios, durante nuestro trabajo, sin dejar ninguna brecha entre ese tiempo como algo cronológico. Luego de esa estructura vamos a hablar de por qué escoger Canadá, porque a pesar de que hay varios países o hay varios programas que en nuestro país, ¿por qué Canadá? Entonces ahí podemos utilizar varios aspectos como el costo de los programas o que es una ventaja profesional o también las habilidades en el idioma que vamos a adquirir, ya que Canadá, aparte de hablar inglés, también va a hablar francés, entonces eso podría ser como una de las razones de por qué se escogió Canadá o a veces que ese programa no se encuentra en el país de uno. Nuestra cuarta estructura, nuestro cuarto subtítulo vendría siendo por qué se escogió ese programa en específico y ese college. Entonces, no sé, Caro, si me podrías ayudar hablando un poquito de ese subtítulo.
Sí, básicamente es una explicación clara de por qué eligieron ese programa y ese college. Básicamente tiene que tener sentido, tienen que apoyar todo lo que pusieron en el background, en sus estudios y su experiencia laboral, tiene que apoyar y tiene que tener sentido con la elección del programa. Es aquí en esa sección en donde ustedes pueden explicar por qué, por ejemplo, sobre todo si hay algún cambio de campo o algo que realmente no tenga mucho sentido, a quienes ahí pueden, digamos, explicarle al oficial de inmigración por qué están eligiendo, por qué se hizo un cambio o por qué, por ejemplo, están eligiendo un programa similar o muy distinto. A veces los oficiales no logran ver la relación y entonces, digamos, emiten inmediatamente una negación diciendo que el programa no tiene sentido con, digamos, con su background específicamente.
Listo. Y ya las otras partes de la estructura que se tienen que tener en cuenta o que aconsejamos nosotros son los objetivos profesionales o metas profesionales después de completar ese programa. Entonces, en esa sección vamos a mostrar por qué queremos realizar ese programa, más que todo, qué vamos a conseguir después de ese programa. No, después de este programa vamos a tener un mejor perfil profesional y vamos a poder aplicar todos esos conocimientos en el país de origen o cosas así. Entonces, como nuestros objetivos y metas después de completar ese programa. Ya después de esto son los vínculos con el país de residencia, con el país en donde uno está viviendo, la nacionalidad. Entonces hay algunos vínculos que se tienen, pues más o menos que se aconsejan, pero cada perfil es diferente. Entonces normalmente entre esos vínculos están ya sea un certificado laboral, inversiones, propiedades, familia, ya dependiendo de cada perfil, pero algo que lo haga en cierta forma volver a su país de origen. Y ya entre el último, el subtítulo o la última parte de la estructura vendrían siendo los fondos financieros. Allí se demuestra todo, pues lo que se tenga ya sea en las cuentas bancarias, también lo que se está ganando de salario y todo ese dinero que se pueda demostrar y que se pueda y que sirva para la aplicación para Canadá. No sé si entre todo este breve resumen me salta algo importante, Caro, o si todo está bien.
Yo creo que fue un muy buen resumen, Laura, gracias por eso. Fue mucha información, así que estamos tratando de dar, digamos, los puntos más relevantes. I'm sorry about that for our English speaking followers, but we just wanted to give a little summary. I also wanted to say hi. We have a lot of people saying hi in the comments. Suresh, Scotty, Nazreen, um, Santiago, Angel, hello everybody. We're very grateful that you're joining us, and I hope you're getting some good information from this session today. So let's get going. So mistake number 2. What do we have? Leaving unexplained gaps. Yes, and actually we have a question right now regarding the gaps. It is super important for us guys to be able to take advantage of this study plan, and in the background section to be able to explain all the gaps, the study gaps that we may have. Why is this important? um, IRCC normally, if they see a study gap higher than around 5 years, meaning you finish high school or you finish your bachelor's, the last time you studied, it was more than 5 years, it is already a bit of a red flag. Okay. Why? Because then why after 5 years? Why after 10 years you decided to come to Canada to study? You know, so this is a great, great chance that you have to actually explain the officer. And here, answering the question that we had from Suresh, yes, definitely there, you can definitely explain. You see, for example, I finished my bachelor's in 2020, for example, but I haven't done any studies between then and now. You can explain there specifically what have you done and how that actually um, has led you to the need of a study overseas, for example. Okay, so that is a very, very that is a very good chance that you're getting here with the study plan to explain all the things that maybe are not making any sense. Okay, so that's why we recommend in that background section, be specific, put the years. I finished in this year, from this year and this year I did this, from this year I did that, and this I did it because of that. Basically, that's kind of a bit of a summary, but that's what it is. Okay, very clear, very precise, so the officer understands your intentions. Okay, Homan, anything to add of there?
Yeah, so you already covered all the things. It should be very important, the gap, especially for mature students. So
Mm-hmm.
because they have some background, because they freshly, graduated from the high school, maybe because there is no gap. So they just recently graduate from high school, they want to come and continue the study. So maybe they don't so concern here to explain it. But for the mature student, for those who especially have a study in their back home or any other countries, and they want to continue in other field or other things, they have to cover if especially the gap is is big, so they need to explain it what was the reason and what is the reason that they want to come and then study in this field in this country. Yeah, and then you have to explain yourself.
Okay, perfect. So we move on. This is a very this is something that we see very often. This third mistake, and it's a bit controversial, and I'm going to explain why. A lot of people express in their study plan that they want to come to Canada to work and stay. Why is this wrong? Because a lot of people tell me, well, Carolina, Canada offers all these immigration programs and these options for students. Like, why is it wrong to mention that I want to work and I want to become a PR, for example? Well, the reason is the dual intent, that is called dual intent, meaning that you're coming for two different things, right? It's not necessarily wrong, but you have to think that you're applying for a study permit. Your study permit application needs to address all the aspects to make it a solid application. If you're applying for a study permit and you're saying that actually you don't want to, your main goal is not to study, but to work and stay, then we started with the wrong foot, right? Because you are applying for a study permit. If you want to work, your main application should be for a work permit. Okay, so that is a very, very important thing. Now, the other thing with this is that basically one of the refusals, that the most common refusals, is that the officer is not convinced that you will leave Canada after your studies, right? So and this is why, like, if you write, well, I want to work in Canada, that for sure is a reason for that refusal, right? So what you have to give the officer is the certainty that your main goal is to study and that you have everything in place to do so. You have the means, you have the will to do it. And then, yes, you're going to work, and maybe who knows what happens later. It's not wrong to be able to be like, well, maybe someday I want to have become a PR. But the thing is, the officer wants to know what happens if you don't. What happens if you come to Canada and you're not able to find a job and you're not able to get a PR? Are you able to come back to your country and have, without a problem? That's the main thing. That's what they are trying to assess. This person is applying for a study permit, and this person is able, if they want to come back without an issue. And they have, ties to their country. They have the ability to find another job, etc. Okay, so those are the things you have to make clear. You're applying for a study permit. Then the rest, it's on the side. So please do not write that you want to work or you want to do something else if you're applying for a study permit or whatever else that you're applying. Okay, Human, what do you think about that?
Yeah, the same thing. So, and I can add two more things in this section. So, first, when you want to mention that after the study, I want to apply for PR, which we know that the 90% of international students eventually they can get the PR, but and then the IRCC knows about it. But at the time when you apply for application, as Carolina mentioned that because the study permit is a temporary resident permit, it should be temporary. We cannot mention permanently. And then the second fact is for PR applications. So maybe you can explain it based on the situation and then my profile. I'm eligible to apply for PR. So what's wrong? Yes, you are eligible to apply for PR today. But after you're finishing your school, so in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
it depends. So who knows that the regulation is gonna be the same, and
Yes.
even the officer doesn't know. That's the another reason. So it doesn't look good that if you explain or you want to add something about the future plan in Canada, work permit, PR, or anything. Just focus on the study permits part.
Totally, Human. Very, yeah. That was key. Exactly. You have to think that regulations change, and you can tell the officer whatever you would like in the future. But what they want to know is now, are you able to meet your studies requirement? That's it. Then what you do later, yes, it's not like it's forbidden or is wrong, but not what you're applying for, basically.
Yep. Keeping
Mhm.
it secret.
Yeah,
The future.
yeah. Just dream, for yourself. Yes. Okay, guys, let's go to number 4. And this is a mistake that is previous to the study permit, to the study plan. I'm sorry, it's not necessarily the study plan, but we see this a lot. Choosing the wrong program level or program field. Okay, of course, if you chose the incorrect field, it's going to be a little bit difficult to explain why in your study plan. Although things can be done. It happens a lot that people, for example, have a master's degree and then they apply for a diploma, which is like the level of studies is lower, right? And we see human, right? We see a lot of refusals, saying that, for example, the client, I'm just going to read here one of the refusals. The client has previous studies at a higher academic level than the proposed studies in Canada. So that's very common, very common. And it doesn't mean that you always have to have to study like the next level. Like if you have a high school, you have to study a diploma or a bachelor's, and then if you have a bachelor's, it has to be a postgraduate certificate or a master's. Not necessarily, but you have to explain. You have to clearly explain why. If you have a master's or a PhD, you're now deciding to study an undergraduate certificate or diploma, which is like very, or why you, for example, have all your experience in certain field like architecture, for example, and all of a sudden you decided to apply for culinary school. It can happen, and we've seen a lot of approvals, even so the fields are different and the level, but the explanation has to be there. Again, the officer is not gonna sit down to try to understand why you have to tell them clearly why you chose what you chose, your means, and all of the information that we've shared. um Anything there, Laura, Human? Anything you would like to add?
Mm, no,
Not
Not from
really.
side.
not
Yeah, yeah. I
really.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we continue with mistake number 5 and our final one, Laura, which is, and we already talked a little bit about it in the structure of the program, basically not identify clearly the ties to your home country. Okay, as we mentioned before, as Human explained, this is a very important part of the puzzle. Also, we see many refusals coming in because of that. And as we said before, not just because you don't have ties to your home country, but you didn't explain, you didn't support. You can say, yes, I have a wife and 2 kids back home. Okay, but where is the marriage certificate? Or where is your the birth certificate of the kids? Or I don't know, you have to support what you're saying. I have 2 apartments, and I can go back anytime and find a job. Well, where is that job? Where is the letter of that job, the offer for that job? Who is that you're having a business with? All of that, all of those are ties to your home country that facilitate you coming back if something goes wrong, or you finishes your studies. The officer needs to believe and needs to be clear that once you finish your studies, there wouldn't be any problems for you to go back. And you're going to go back to family, to properties, to whatever it is, to business, to unemployment, all of that. If you add that to your application and you clearly specify it here, I think you would be good. You would have a very solid application.
Yeah, that's great.
So
Yeah.
I think those are the main things. We don't want to make this extremely long. Laura, I don't know if you want to do a closure for our Spanish speakers with a little bit of a summary, and then we can
Yeah.
go to the questions.
Yes, I can do a quick summary for the next mistakes. Bueno, continuando en español para todas las personas que están acá de habla hispana. estábamos nombrando, en total estábamos hablando de 5 errores, ya nombramos uno en español y en inglés estábamos nombrando los otros errores. Entonces voy a hacer un breve resumen de estos errores que se suelen cometer con la realización de un plan de estudios. Y el segundo error es cuando se deja alguna brecha, ya sea de educación o laboral o alguna brecha en lo del plan de estudios. Por ejemplo, yo me gradué en 2018 y entonces del 2018 al 2022, si se está haciendo la aplicación, tendríamos que demostrar qué estuvimos haciendo, si estuvimos trabajando, estudiando inglés, algún idioma, entonces demostrar en ese tiempo qué estuvimos haciendo y así nos va a tocar estar haciendo durante toda la cronología para no dejar ningún espacio vacío en cierta forma. Entonces ese es el error 2, dejar espacios vacíos. Para el error 3 tenemos que el decir, normalmente muchas personas suelen decir que después de graduarse el principal objetivo es quedarse en Canadá y eso está muy mal porque a pesar de que en un futuro uno quiera graduarse, aplicar al permiso de trabajo y después intentar conseguir la residencia permanente, a pesar de que ese sea el objetivo, lo ideal es no decirlo, sino demostrar razones del por qué queremos volver al país de residencia, al país de donde es uno. Entonces está mal decir esto, que queremos quedarnos en Canadá después de graduarnos y es que una de las razones principales de un rechazo para el permiso de estudio es que Canadá no está convencido de que luego de graduarnos se va a volver a ese país, entonces, o sea, al país de residencia. Entonces, es muy importante no decir que uno se va a quedar después de graduarse. Y ya el cuarto error es escoger mal un nivel educativo o un campo de estudio. Por ejemplo, si yo estudié una maestría, lo ideal no es volver a un diplomado o un certificado porque estaría reduciéndose pues el nivel así en cierta forma de la educación o escoger un campo que en cierta forma le aporte más. Por ejemplo, si yo estudié una maestría en ingeniería y me gustaría estudiar un diplomado o una maestría ya en ingeniería, pero enfocado a la parte de energía o algo así ya más específico, podría funcionar. O también escoger un buen programa. Entonces, un error es no escoger bien el programa o el tipo de estudio que se quiera realizar. Y para el último error es que no se identifican cuáles son los vínculos que tienen con el país de origen. Eso ya lo habíamos mencionado anteriormente, el error 1 entre los vínculos, y es lo que había dicho anteriormente de los certificados laborales, perdón, lo del permiso que uno tiene una oferta de trabajo en el país de residencia, familia, propiedades o algo así. No sé si Caro me quiera complementar en este breve
Woo!
resumen.
That was a lot. No, súper bien, Lau. Nada más decir que, claro, básicamente a lo que nos referimos con los lazos y vínculos familiares pueden ser cualquier cosa que les una al país en donde el oficial pueda ver que ustedes, una vez finalizado el programa, van a poder regresar sin problema en integrarse nuevamente a la sociedad. Básicamente, si tienen propiedades, si tienen algún negocio, si tienen alguna oferta laboral de algún cercano, familia, obviamente es muy, muy fundamental, propiedades, ese tipo, todo lo que sea, puede ser a nivel financiero, a nivel de familiar, a nivel de empleo, todo eso ayuda muchísimo y deben tratar de agregarlo en el plan de estudio. Okay, guys, thank you for your patience.
Yeah,
we're
no
going
worries.
to we're going to answer a few questions that I think throughout the session we have answered a few. Santiago was asking if I'm interested about applying for the PR. Do I have to mention that in the study plan? And the answer is
No.
no, definitely no. Try not to, yes. Unless why? Better not. I mean, as I said, it's not completely wrong if you write it correctly, but try to avoid it.
Yeah, it's better.
Because, yeah, definitely better. What else do we have here? We talked about the gap. Angel is asking, I have studied business, but I now want to change my career to health. Is this advisable? I will let you answer as well, Human, because it's important your point of view. But from my point of view, if this is something that you really want, it really depends on the person. It's going to depend on the other part of your application, how strong your application is, and it's going to depend on your background. Okay,
Yeah.
but we definitely have in the past, and we continue to do these changes in careers for people, because it happens sometimes. You have a career but you always wanted to do something else, so it is possible.
Yep.
My advice would be, if your profile, let's say you're a mature student that has a long career in one field and all of your expertise is in that field, maybe wouldn't be advisable. If you're a young person, or maybe youngish, but like, and it makes sense. For example, I don't know, you study business, but then you realize that you worked in a hospital, and then you realize that you really like that job. There are ways to explain, and if it's clearly stated in the study plan, and it makes sense, I think it's doable. Human.
Yeah, actually, the Carolina, I can give an example. Previously, we had a client that they changed the totally the career, but for example, the applicant, I don't remember exactly what is the his field, but he explained that because the parents establish a new business in different area, and the parents are old, so they need somebody to take care of the business, and the reason that he wants to study in different field, that was the reason. And then he provide with the supporting and sufficient document, and then explain why this changes, the career changes was happened. And then I remember he got the acceptance at that time.
Perfect. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
So
good. It
remember,
depends. Yeah.
it depends. And I would say, as a summary of all of this, the study plans is a chance you have to explain everything that is not clear in your application. So, for example, a change in career, you are able to, in that section of why you chose the program and all of that, you are able to explain, to give a strong, solid explanation that is linked to your background or with your future plans, and you have documentation to prove it. Definitely, it should be, you should get a positive reply, or at least you up your chances of that. All that I can say now is just, if you need any help with your study plan, click on the link, contact us. We're happy to help. This is what we do. So we will definitely guide you with the writing of your study plan. And also, we also have free assessments that we conduct for each client. So if you want a free assessment to know which path is better for you, you need guidance because you're in a pickle at the moment, you're not sure what to do, happy to help. You have all of our contact information. Here we have our link down below, and we have our contact information, info@inwit.ca, and at inwit.ca, our website. They can contact us there. So Lara and Human, some closing words there. Thank you for joining
Yeah,
today and helping me with this.
you're welcome. So I can add one to two things if we have time. So the first thing is that because previously somebody's tell me that, so I covered all these factors. So we covered today in this session in the study plan, but I received the refusal. Yes,
Mm.
the explanation is not enough. They only just to explain it. You
Hmm.
need to support. So
Yes.
for whatever you mentioned here as a background, as a gap, or anything that you explain in the study plan, you need to prove it with documentation in the application. It's very important because everybody can explain, but you have to prove the sufficient document. This is the things that you have to think about it. And if Carolina, if somebody wants our help just for a study plan, do we have the services? For example, the person wants to apply for a study permit, but wants to use our expertise to help him or her
Of
for it.
course, we
Yeah.
can definitely work it out. If they have their application ready, we can review it. We can help them with the study plan to say, hey, well, maybe you should add this. Guide them on how to write it and what things to add or to remove, so it is clear and also matches, as you mentioned, the supporting documents.
Okay. Sounds
Thank
good.
you, Human.
You're welcome. Thanks. Thanks, Laura. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Laura,
Okay.
well, thank you for all your support as well. Gracias a todos en la comunidad latina, nuestros seguidores que siguen. And yes, please feel free to contact us again. Here you have our information, and we're here every Tuesdays and Thursdays. Next Thursday, Reza is back with a great live as well. So try to tune in always for good information and always answering your live questions as much as we can. Remember, if any questions that we weren't able to answer, always again contact us. We're always Lara is there to get the to get in touch with you through all of us as well. Okay, so thank you everyone and have a great evening.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.